All right, now look at the admonition. Love not this system. Now, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the good things. That doesn't mean you can't have a nice home. Doesn't mean that you can't have some of the amenities of life. Not at all. But you see, it's just like that statement, I think everybody has heard it since they were a kid, that the love of money is what? The root of all evil. Money isn't. It doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It's the what? It's the love of it. Now, the love of money then causes people to become what? Corrupt in order to get it. Now, it's the same way here. We can enjoy some of these things that this cosmos has to offer, as long as we don't let it. Well, I remember when Greg was a kid, he came home from high school one time, and they had a slot machine in the bowling alley, and at least I always admired the kid. He asked me whether he could play that slot machine. You know, it was only a what, dime or a quarter. Greg probably don't even remember anymore, but I do. But I remember best the answer that I gave him. I said, no, I don't care if you play that slot machine, just don't let the dumb thing grab you. You know what I meant? Don't partake of some of these things to the place where they get a hold of you and you can't let go. Because, see, this is what the things of the world do. And that's what the world's system is trying to do, is just literally grab us and we lose control. All right, now let's look on. Verse 16, for all that is in the world, in this world's system, the lust of the flesh. Now, as I go through these, I'm going to flash back to Matthew. What was Christ's first temptation? Bread, because he was hungry. So what did he suffer? The temptation of the lust of the flesh. Now let's flash back even further without turning back to it. What was the first part of Satan's appeal to Eve? Look at the fruit. Look at the fruit, see? It was appealing to the what? To the eye. Exactly. All right, read the next one. The lust of the eye and the pride of life. All right, now we're going to have to reverse that order a little bit in the temptations. The first one, of course, was obvious. That was the lust of the flesh. He was hungry. The second one was the appeal to the eye because, like I've already pointed out, that vast crowd that would have witnessed his miraculous plunge from the pinnacle of the temple. And it was a temptation. Oh, to appeal to the things of the eye. But then the third one, you see, is when Satan says, I'll give you power over all these kingdoms. What did that appeal to? His pride, see? Oh, that's what makes politicians what they are, is that quest for power, see? And it feeds the ego, it feeds their pride. Now, again, let's go all the way back to Eve. First she was appealed into the area that it was good to eat. Then it appealed to the eye. But the basis of the whole temptation was what? You can be like God. See? Now, to be like God, what would that give her? Power. You see it? Now, it's the same way for you and I today. Every temptation. Now, let's turn to another scripture real quickly. Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4. It's just back to the left a few pages. And come down to verse 15. Because I've had people ask me after a class, well, how in the world can the scripture say that Jesus tasted of every temptation that I'm faced with? He couldn't have. Well, not an individual one, but in the categories he did. Because, see, you can still place every temptation that befalls you and I into these three same categories. It's either going to be the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, or the pride of life. I don't care what the temptation is, it'll go into one of those three categories. All right, now then you got Hebrews chapter 4, let's start at verse 14. Verse 14, seeing then we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession, because he's there. Now then, verse 15, For we have not a high priest who cannot be touched. Now let's take it out of the negative and let's put it into the positive. That won't be taking away from Scripture, it'll just be clarifying. For we have a high priest who can be touched. See that? We have a high priest who can be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, but whereas we fall, he didn't. See the difference? All right, now there's one more verse we've got to look at, and that'd be in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I guess our time's just about gone again. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Verse 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And I hope you're seeing how all of these fit together. We have a high priest who can be touched with our infirmities because he's already gone through every category of temptation that we are. All right, now look what Paul writes to the Corinthians then in verse 13 of chapter 10. There hath no temptation, see? There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. In other words, you can't say, well, I'm in a unique position. No one has ever been faced with something like this before. Oh, yeah, they have. Christ himself has been. All right, read on. But God is faithful. God is faithful, who will not permit you to be tempted above that you are able, but with the temptation. In other words, Satan is going to hit us. The old Adam is going to come up at us. But with the temptation, he will also make a way to escape that you may be able to bear it. Now that's a promise. So there is no need for us to fail, for us to stumble, even though we do. Yet it's not God's fault. God has made all the provisions, but it was based on the fact that Christ experienced every category of temptation that befall you and I.
Thank you for watching Through the Bible with Les Feldick, a weekly Bible study. If you would like more information about the Les Feldick Ministries, a Bible study in your area, or about this program, write to Les Feldick Ministries, Route 1, Box 760, Kinta, Oklahoma, 74552. That's Route 1, Box 760, Kinta, Oklahoma, 74552. Through the Bible with Les Feldick is viewer supported, and your gift is appreciated. Thank you, and be sure to tune in next time for Through the Bible with Les Feldick.